So we've got all these different kind of indications where we're operating, at the level that we're operating, and trying to sort out God's will, our will kind of thing. We're just not very good at this because we keep dragging Him into our world, so to speak, in the sense of this is the way we think, so this is the way God thinks. When we turn that thing over on its head and turn it the other way around and realize we actually don't think like God does, we think very differently. If you reread the Old Testament, I think you'll get like a different reading at times of what's actually happening. I'll just say that much with it, that there's a lot more there than we've ever learned because we've actually thought in terms of this is all God's will being done. And Jesus is like, are you serious? Are you serious? You think that all the stuff that was happening is a demonstration of God's will? What it's a demonstration of what things look like when the kingdom is not there and God's will is not done. That's what you've got a demonstration of. So, in the prayer, Jesus does not ask to know God's will. I can't tell you how many people ask me to pray for them. They just want to know God's will. I don't like to hurt people's feelings. Probably should, but I don't like to. So I wouldn't throw it at them and say, I'm just wondering, what are you basing that request on? Can you give me one scripture that encourages us to pray to know God's will? Just wondering. Use a concordance. Try to find one. Jesus doesn't pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be known. What he prays is, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Let it be done. And last week we talked about 3 different news stories where it was very obvious that God's will was done in the saving of people's lives. They didn't pray, they didn't stop and figure anything, they just saved people. Babies in cars. A woman who needed money in a parking meter. And then situations where a parent shames his daughter publicly on Facebook, or YouTube, on YouTube. Obviously not God's will being done. Nothing good about that. No desire of God fulfilled, no delight. We prayed for her last week, didn't we? For that family. Because everyone in the room knows how powerful, how life-controlling, mind-bending, and perverted shame is and what it does to people. Devastating stuff, real bad stuff. So, the encouragement last week wasn't so much to pray to know God's will. And this makes us a little uncomfortable because we all go there. God, if I just knew your will in this thing. And God's coming from, well, just do it. A bit like Nike. Just do it. But I don't know what it is. Well, hang around with me and you'll know it. I'll tell you what to do. Do it. Thy will be done, not known. See, the whole trick, the whole key, what I put down here in my notes is our quest and request is not to know God's will, but to know God. That's what we gave up in the garden. That's what we gave up, and we've regained it in Christ, but we're still not getting it. We still think we have to know something when the key is knowing someone. And the promise is this: I will make this promise in this room and on a recorder and everything else. The closer and the more that we know God, as far as His will, and it just kind of falls by the wayside because we're just walking with Him like Jesus walked. We're walking in such a way with Him. And I'm not talking about the power of miracles and all that. I mean, that's all good. I'm talking, we're just walking in such a way with Him that we know His will because we know Him. Tonight we're going to finish up by attaching some things to that are helpful, because I know it almost sounds mystical the way I'm talking, to where it doesn't make a lot of sense.
A little bit. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So, Would a better prayer be, instead of "God, help me to know your will for me, help me to know your will," would a better prayer be, "Help me to know you better"?
Yeah, I think the desire to know him, to seek him and to know him, and not as if he's, way outside you. This is where the challenging part
Yeah.
comes, is that he's in us.
Right.
Oh, we're trying to reach up to the heavens. We don't have to do that.
Help me to see you.
And to know you. And the thing is this, like with Elijah, where he has the still small voice within.
Yes.
He's there's all this stuff going on externally, but then he hears a still small voice within.
But sometimes we kind of hear that still small voice, and we, despite that,
Mhm.
right? We kind of like go over here and do this anyway.
Right, exactly, which is the problem of wills, which is
Yeah.
our will. The
Right.
problem is our will. It's not God's will being known kind of thing. The problem is our will, because I'll be very surprised if any one of us in this room aren't pretty clear on God's will, what the deal is, which way to go and the whole thing. That we're not clued up and we can see it. And if we can't, by the basis of his character, we may not know it, but we know which way to go, and we can start going. And if you're doing good, you're doing his will. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Doing good is doing his will. He spoke everything in it, was all good. We were created for good works. Let your light so shine that they may see your good works. Good, 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 good. I've seen your good works. I know your good works. You are good. Salt is... I can go on and on and on. It's not like we're dumb to this stuff. Our problem is a bit like when, Marco first calls me, tells me he's got a situation. My first instinct is, I don't need this. I got to be honest with you. I just don't need this. I'm talking about a few days ago, my first conversation, as he's breaking it down and explaining it to me. And I'm not saying it to Marco, but I'm thinking it inside myself. And that's me. Everything in me is saying, there's a 19-year-old girl that God knows, everybody knows, should be here. But you don't need it. And that's our problem, is that we exercise our will. Because we don't need that right now. Even though it lines up totally with everything that God is saying and doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to call that his will, so be it. Let's call it his will. Jesus is saying, well, can we get that done? Can we get that will done? See, the real question, like with Jesus, I think one of the coolest things about Jesus is that when he prayed, thy will be done, he went and he did it. He wasn't like praying something for somebody else to do. The people that they interviewed that were saving these people's lives and doing these wonderful good works to help people out, the journalists are saying, so what were you thinking? A baby's dying, I could do something about it. It was kind of like a bit of a no-brainer. The lady with the putting the money in the thing, what was I thinking? She needs help, I could help. What are you actually asking me? It's almost confusing these people. I didn't see any interview with the father that shamed the daughter. In any event.
There's also the enemy's voice in it all, too, right?
Right, which is why the enemy's voice, like Paul even says, he comes as an angel of light. I mean, he can switch on in a very meaningful way, but it will line up. If it doesn't line up with the things that we're kind of like talking about, in other words, the enemy can give us something really, really good to do. I mean, you'll be like, God, just have a little bit of this. You, me, my, I. That message, that right away, if that doesn't scream at us, I will ascend, I will do this, that should scream at us. Mm-hmm. That is not a godly message. It is not good for man to be alone. I was thinking the other day about there's an I in pride, there's an I in sin, there's an I in will, There's a lot of I's floating around there in words that...
Wow.
Anyway. We won't read all the John 4, 5, John 6. Every chapter consecutively, Jesus keeps saying stuff like, I did not come to do my own will, but to do the will of the Father. Let's read Psalm 40. Let's read a few verses from Psalm 40, because it's a prophetic. It's one of my favorite little prophecies. It's not a real powerful one. It's just a beautiful one. In Psalm 40, it's also quoted again in Hebrews 10, but in Psalm 40, verses 6, 7, and 8, anybody who gets it can let it rip.
Sacrifice and meal offering thou hast not desired, my ears thou hast opened. Burnt offering and sin offering thou hast not required. Then I said, Behold, I come, in the scroll of the book it is written of me. I delight to do thy will, O my God.
Another version, without the these and the thys, no offense, but
So that would be, I delight to do your delight,
yeah,
right?
that's what. In other words, the word will, we just translate that into our way of thinking, and that's okay, except it's just not a very good way. I delight to perform your delight.
7.
Which translation would you prefer?
Just something without thys and thous.
What
And
was it at 40?
Psalm 40 verses 6, 7, and 8.
Okay.
I just think it reads a little easier without the King James feel to it.
Sacrifice and meal.
Yeah, excuse me, but what was that anyway?
New American Standard.
Okay.
Sacrifice and offering you did not desire.
See, because that, now listen, say that one more time.
This is 46 through 8, right?
Yeah, but just the beginning, say it one more time.
Sacrifice and offering you did not desire.
Sacrifice, offering, you did not desire.
My ears.
So that has to do, you hear the word desire right away. Okay, so what is his desire? And what's it going to say?
My ears you have opened.
I get it.
Burnt offerings and sin offerings you did not require. Then I said, Behold, I come. In the scroll of the book it is written of me. I delight to do your will,
Yeah.
O my God, and your law is within my heart. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I like that it's Jesus and everything, and it just kind of, I enjoy that because it is beautiful. I don't know what other word to use. It's just beautiful. And the way Jesus, what he said and what he did, it's just like his mother. She knows in the beginning, let there be, let there be, let there be, let there be. Once she has her visitation, let it be according to your word. Jesus, I delight to do your delight. Just let it be. Let it flow. We're getting back to kind of like what you were saying before about the prayer. Just let it flow. Father, like Jesus said, you do the works. I don't even do them. I'm like in harmony with you. Just let it flow. Let it be, God. Exist. Let it be. Let it be according to your word. That law that's in my heart, the word that's in my heart, just let it be according to that. And I think some of the deadliest words that we can kind of like utter is, well, that's just the way I am. We so feed that fat will of ours, I've got to be honest, it's absolutely awful.
It's our ego.
Yeah, ego in a different vernacular. Yep. It's just, and we just accommodate it. It's like,
God.
that real bad harmony from like, it's that real bad harmony. Well, that's just the way it is.
It's horrible.
Coward.
Yeah.
Coward.